The Winter of Red Snow, a Revolutionary War Diary by Abigail Jane Stewart. Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, 1777. Reading 2. December 3rd, 1777, Wednesday. The baby is sick. Elizabeth and I have stayed home from school to help. When I tucked Sally into her trundle last night, she threw her arms around my neck, sobbing, "Shall this baby die like all the others?" Elizabeth kneeled to kiss Sally, but she too began to weep. Then so did I. Mama has birthed 9 children, 3 girls, that's us, and now 6 boys. We have not had a brother live through his first winter. After Sally had cried herself to sleep, Elizabeth and I lay in bed whispering. Soon she was quiet. I crept across the cold floor to look out the window. The creek looked like silver ribbon winding its way among the trees towards the Schuylkill River, and the house where Miss Heaves lives. The upstairs window glowed with candlelight, and I hoped she was awake, praying for our baby. I was. December 6th, 1777, Saturday. Mr. Walker, the carpenter, rode up with a new cradle he had just made for us. When he asked our baby's name, Papa looked at Mama and she looked at him. Elizabeth and I looked at each other and then at Sally. Our baby was 5 days old, but we had not named him. Papa put the cradle by the fire, not too close, but near the stone bench where it is warm. Mama held the baby in her arms for a minute before settling him down in the blankets. She said, "I doth like the name John." Papa smiled at her. "Yes, John is a good name, John Edward. So now Elizabeth and Sally and I have a brother, John Edward Stewart. He is so still and so small that when I glanced at the candle after supper I thought for a moment it was Sally's doll inside. It was cold at night, especially upstairs with the door closed. We have moved our bed and trundle next to the chimney for warmth. The string from my nightcap itches my skin, but at least by morning the cap will still be on my head, and it has kept the chill away. Deer have been coming down from Mount Joy and Mount Misery. Our orchards are full for their droppings, for they have come to eat apples left on the ground. December 7th, 1777, Sunday. On our way to church, a cold rain began. I was sore pleased Mama stayed home with baby John because of the wind. It blew wet leaves into the wagon and across the muddy road. All trees at Valley Forge are bare except for the evergreens, and there is a crust of ice along the creek bed. Papa said he's happy we are prepared for winter. The barn is stacked high with hay, and our animals have cozy beds. The cellar is full of potatoes, onions, carrots, turnips, salted beef, and barrels of cider. We have enough dried cranberries to sell at the market. After prayer meeting, we stopped at the Fitzgeralds to see if Mrs. Fitzgerald needed anything. Her latch string is always out, so we shall feel welcome, but I know not why she wants visitors. Her kitchen is untidy. It smells bad, and there are mice in her cupboard. I saw them. Mr. Fitzgerald was taken prisoner at the Battle of Saratoga 2 months ago, and no one knows what the redcoats have done with him. I puzzle why her boys have not helped her. They are lazy and quarrelsome, all 8 of them. They were throwing mud at each other as we were getting ready to leave, and that bully Tom threw some at my shoes. It splattered my hem. I was so annoyed I walked around the back of the wagon to kick him, but he ran off with his thumbs in his ears and his tongue sticking out. I hate him. He's 11 as I am, but he is just a child. Reverend Curry and Mr. Walker arrived at our house in time for supper, soaking wet from the rain. Elizabeth draped their cloaks by the fire, such a stink, while Sally and I dished our stewed pumpkin. Mama's face went white when they told us the bad news. The British tried to capture Whitemarsh, but have retreated to Philadelphia, our capital city, and they plan to winter there. We are worried sick. Auntie Hanny lives out there, and so does Papa's 3 brothers and our little cousins. I said we must go right away to rescue them, but Papa said 18 miles is too much mud for our small wagon. December 10th, 1777, Wednesday. Elizabeth stayed home with Mama, so Sally and I walked to school without her. The sky was gray and there was a cold mist. I was pleased to be back to see Molly and Ruth and Naomi again. Before lessons, we were close to the fire drying off when through the window we saw a horseman. The boys ran outside and shouted for news. "The redcoats started another skirmish," came the voice. We all started talking at once, and the younger children began to cry with worry. Miss Molly tapped her ruler on the table. She told us to take up our slates and be quiet. "Quaker families cometh themselves not with matters of what," she said. Sally was in front now with all the other first graders. She turned around to look at me, so I smiled. We are Baptists. Papa will let us be concerned.